How to get your business discipline back in the age of distraction. Listen in as the two business guys mastermind on how to regain your focus. Enjoy. This business podcast, the two business guys mastermind, uncovers for you secrets and share tips and tricks to entrepreneurship as they mastermind on how to have startup, operational, and overall business success so that you can go on to get better results. Enjoy. So, hey, John, how are you this morning? The two business guys are masterminding on a topic that we're going to dig into really, really good. How you doing, John?
I am doing well, Randy. Beautiful morning. We're only a couple days away from March, so hopefully the winter is mostly behind us.
Yeah, March is typically a cold month. So
yeah, not February though.
Yeah, and that's interesting what's happening. Texas is cold. Michigan is warm. What's that all about? So listen, John, this is something that came to my mind earlier this week. And it dealt with focus. And sometimes when I see something like this, John, I kind of always run it through my own filters. And I ask questions of my own life. Somebody literally had to sit me down and says, you need to shut up because just tell me 5 things you did yesterday. And I rattled off like 10 things. I was like, and you're complaining about focus and discipline? Are you serious right now? Well, you know how, entrepreneurs can be. We can be very, very hard on ourselves, right? Because if we don't see the revenue that we want, or whatever reason, right, we can get into those spaces. But what really kind of got me sparked here is I started thinking about some of my clients that I work with, and I started thinking about what's stopping some of them from getting to that next level. Now, I work with them to keep focused, to keep discipline, but you always have the ones that fall off, and you kind of go, darn. They are really talented. What you talked about earlier, they are really talented. They really could make a difference, but they can't stay focused and they don't now apply the discipline to make that happen. And it just got me thinking about this. So I brought this article up. And this is from a little while ago. I want to go ahead and do a couple of things. I want to do some annotations here. So I thought about this article, and what ended up happening is as I'm looking at it, I'm going, wow, wait a minute. That makes a lot of sense. I like what they said here. Look at this. It says, you become an entrepreneur because your mind works differently. Now, we know that. We put that in our book, right? And then, but down here, it says, but there's something going on with you. And I wanted to kind of look at what they're talking about here. I gotta come out of this real quick. Let me go ahead and do this real quick. And one of the other things they mention here, John, I think you'll appreciate this. Read that real quick. Is they said, where was it? Oh, you're an entrepreneur, and of course you're not focused, right? Moving from project to project is what entrepreneurs like to do. However, that successful entrepreneurs make sure they complete one project before they move to the next, or have a clear swim lanes between multiple projects. Boy, that was powerful to me. What are your thoughts on that, man?
Randy, I think you shopped me yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think you shopped me yesterday, didn't you?
How so?
I had so one of my 5 meetings was a Zoom meeting with a gentleman, and he was brilliant. He had a lot of great ideas, but he has not started any of them. He didn't even have them planned out other than in his head. But he wanted to do them all simultaneously. And it was kind of frustrating to me. I was trying to tell him, hey, I think what you need to do is look at one thing and let's set a business plan, focus on that.
Yeah.
And once you're experiencing success and generating revenue, then, you could do something else. But you hadn't started any of these yet.
Yep.
and you're looking at doing, like 5 big projects, and he kind of came back at me. Well, these won't all take the same amount of time, and
Yeah.
like it, and
He's right here, John.
yeah,
He's a
and,
wantrepreneur.
and it's like, well, I think people underestimate when they start a business that it's not just the setting up the business, but it's the acquiring of customers,
Yeah.
setting up
Yeah.
processes,
Yeah.
making sure that it's an actual business, not just throwing something out there, but it's gotta have some depth to it.
So he's already
And
setting himself up for failure because he's going to be in a unfocused, undisciplined space trying to do 5 at the same time. If you're not a juggler, don't do it. But I'm sorry, go ahead, John. That wantrepreneur, right?
and the guy was brilliant. Some of the things that he was saying, he was blowing my mind, because I didn't know. He was interested in science too. So the piece that you'd brought up about, he was talking about climate change and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
And so he was way over my head, and scientifically, you know what I mean, when he was talking about
You ought to turn that
that.
guy on to me. We'll have a product out by the weekend. I'm serious because that's how
but
I
but
work.
but but so he was brilliant. So it wasn't the fact that he wasn't a smart guy. It was the fact that he didn't have a plan, and he wanted to do everything at one time by
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah. Yeah. I've worked with a couple people like that before. And look at this next part, John. And that kind of tells a little bit about it too, doesn't it? It says, when as it relates to focus. Now, I have, like, the guy has the ideas, but here is where he's lacking the focus. And that may be because he's immature, definitely immature in business. But look at this. It's a part of the maturing process of an entrepreneur. But then there's help, right? And I put some check marks here by that. There is help. The help is that you can train yourself to focus, right? There are strategies that you can employ. Some of this right here, checking email, checking social media, and all of that stuff. I'm telling you, it is keeping us from, I think this is my personal opinion. It's the thing that is keeping people from achieving what they want to achieve. Right there.
Mark Twain had a really good quote where he talks about eating frogs. If you have to eat a frog, you know, do it. And what he was
Do the
saying
hard
was,
things first.
yes, do the hard
Yeah,
things
there's a
first
book
and get
out
them over
called
with.
Eat the Frog.
And that's exactly it. Because as human beings, none of us want to do the hard things. So we procrastinate, and we do the things that we love because we could do them all the time.
Yeah.
But we don't ever get anywhere because we don't want to dive into those really tough things.
That FOMO is real. Fear of missing out. It's a biological thing, right? You don't want to go over to the right and try to hunt because you might miss out on a gazelle to the left, right? So here's what, and one of the reasons why, John, I like to go really, really fast with a project is so I can fail fast. If it's going to be a failure, let's go. Let's get it going. Let's go. Let's go find some customers. Let's put it in front of them. Let's see if they raise their hand. If they don't, then we got the wrong product or the wrong customer. So you know what I mean? Well, let's iterate, even like with the business that we are birthing. Then, one of the things that I oftentimes have to caution both of us, because we both can be in our ideas space, is let's not run ahead with all the things that look nice and pretty. Let's go find the customer. Let's do that hard, gritty stuff. Let's go see if we can get 5 people that say, we need that right now. We'll put a deposit down. When you're ready, send it to us. You know what I mean? So now you're going, wait a minute. That is the, and that is the revenue generating gold mine when someone says, I can't wait to see that product. Right? Are you kidding me right now? I can't wait to see that product means you might be on to something. And now you really have to go fast because you're not the only one that got that idea, right? God gave that idea to somebody else. Whomever people are pray to, they gave that idea to somebody else, maybe three or four people. And they knew that maybe two were not going to execute. One was going to execute badly. One doesn't have any money. You know what I mean? And then there you are sitting
Have
on
you
this
ever,
idea.
have you, yeah, and I think the perfect thing is we've all run into the situation where we have an idea, but we never acted on it. And when
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
else acts on it, we get frustrated.
Those drive me nuts.
And it's
I'm,
like, we get frustrated. It's like, I thought of this, but you didn't do anything about it. This person is actually doing something about it. And, I've had that happen to myself before.
oh
Um,
man, I can't tell you how many times it happened to me.
but it's my own fault. I didn't act upon that.
Yeah.
Whereas someone else, that's the hard part. It's easy to talk about stuff and plan, and there are so many entrepreneurs out there that are perpetually planning and they're
Mm.
never doing anything.
Failure to launch. It was a whole movie called Failure to Launch. Right? Remember that movie? And it
I
speaks
don't
to that.
I think I remember the title. I'm not sure um if I know the content
Yeah,
of
yeah,
that
and
movie.
and I
Yeah.
think this was related to marriage. You know, a guy
Hmm.
could date you, then he was, failed to launch. He lived with his parent a long time. I think it was with Matthew McConaughey, I think,
Hmm.
and they finally told him get out of here, right? And they pushed him out. So, and then from that, he ended up kind of, having to launch. But that becomes what we're talking about here, right? When we see things like this, and we say to ourselves, "Hey, wait a minute, what happened? Why didn't I launch? What's going on?" I was listening to a podcast last week, and a guy said something that was profound. He says the reason you procrastinate, and I haven't even checked this to see if there is any basis in science or anything like that. He says the reason you procrastinate and you won't do something is because you're angry. I'm like,
Hmm.
what? Where'd that come
Hmm.
from? You're angry.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, angry? What? Okay, you need to explain. If I could have sent him a note right then, I would have. But he says, you're angry. You believe somebody owes you something.
Hmm.
And he said, the moment you get over yourself and realize nobody cares about you, then you'll start launching. Nobody cares about your idea. Nobody knows. You know what I mean? And then I started seeing the logic in what he was saying. He says, so procrastination is this belief that somebody should like this. And then, but if they don't, you have this little bit of a fear, and then you get a little upset because of stuff that hasn't even happened yet. And he
Hmm.
starts saying that anger, you start getting angry. Well, that last time I did this, it didn't work out. They didn't love my idea. They didn't love my project, and now I'm pissed about that. So now you're starting to procrastinate. You don't want to put it out there because you don't want to get that same type of reaction and response.
Hmm. Hmm. You read my quote this past week, right?
What? No,
Because
I didn't. What was it?
now that was actually part of it. The one that I was telling you that I put on social media
What was the
about
quote? You got it?
it. I'll paraphrase it, but it really
Uh-huh,
ticks me
uh-huh.
off when someone is very talented, but they don't use those talents, and there are other people out there that don't have an ounce of that talent, and they're working their tail off. And
Making
I
stuff
and I
happen.
put in there, you come up with these excuses like, what if I do this? And I had somebody actually say this to me. Well, what if I do that and it blows up and I become famous, and I'm in the spotlight. I don't know, how it, and I'm thinking, whoa.
That's fear. That's fear in a different way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is something that, John, that we've got to be aware of all the time. That is It's not the fear, and you heard it, but they never broke it down. It's not the fear of failure. It's the fear of the responsibility that comes
Yeah.
with the success.
And I look at it as all, even whichever side the fear lies on, that it's an excuse. It's an excuse from preventing you to go that next step.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It this is something why I like to put a lot of projects out there is because I am no longer fearful. Right? It took a lot of thinking, a lot of books, a lot of stuff to get me to that point. But one of the top ones is when I started producing things was by Susan Jeffries, and it's an older book now.
Hmm.
It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Feel the fear. Okay, there's the fear and do it anyway. Right? And there's a whole bunch of other books now that have come out since then that speak to that. Feel the fear and do it anyway. The old, trite fear is unimaginable or something that's not there and all that kind of stuff. Well, there is a payoff for why people don't do something. And if you can get to that, when I'm listening to people that haven't launched, that's what I'm listening for is what are they getting for not doing it?
Mhm.
See, they're impressing people with the idea. And that gets enough dopamine, response, enough feel good for them to go, okay, it's done. Right. And I would challenge that person. I would say, if I heard an idea that's brilliant, first thing I'd say is, hey, who's buying that? Who's your customer? What do you mean? Who? Everybody. Mm-mm. I says, I tell you what, it's a garbage idea until you can go find me 5 people that say, I'll put money down and wait for that. I've done that with books. I was so
Mhm.
intrigued to get this book, right? That I put money down. The book is not even going to be done for like 8 months. Stuff like that, right?
Think about the
That's when,
special edition things that come out
yeah,
that they, ramp the price up and people stand in line because they know there's only going to be 50 of them in that
yeah,
store. So they're sleeping in a tent in front of the store parking
sure.
lot for 3 days. So
Fear of missing out, FOMO
absolutely.
is huge. It's what's happening with if you notice there's a new Bitcoin. Oh my gosh. Another thing that's related to Bitcoin. Um, and I think it's called NFTs. Yeah. NFT arts. It's a crypto play. And it is interesting. And so many people are jumping on because they're fearing of missing out on the new next possibility. Now, being disciplined is this is what we're talking about, and focused keeps you from getting the new shiny thing syndrome, keeping it from having the new shiny thing syndrome, keeping you from doing what you know is on your business plan, right? And it's probably why, if you notice, like people like Warren Buffett is so freaking famous. He gets ideas all the time. He gets people pitching all the time. He says, "Nope, this is what I do," and it's worked out for me. And people are going, "Oh, you're old fashioned." I'm rich. Call me what you
I
want. You can go
I read
chase
a
NFTs if you want to.
I read a Warren Buffett quote this morning, and he talks about, you don't have to be the smartest person or even close to the smartest person. You have to be the person, and I'm paraphrasing. So
Sure,
sorry, Warren,
person.
if you're listening to this, I'm paraphrasing, but you have to be the person that is persistent, consistent, and persistent.
Right. Consistent, persistent, focused, and discipline. I mean, this is one of the things, man, I think is as I look at again, the cathartic moment for me is like when we have these sessions every week and I go, that's me. I'm a new shiny thing chaser too. Right. So what could I create that contains it but allows it? That's one of the key parts, right? And I remember Gary Vaynerchuk talked about this. He said, dip your toe in. Even if you're on, you're on track to do something else, dip your toe in, keep an eye on it. Snapchat when it was just, brand new, keep an eye on it. Pinterest, brand new, keep an eye on it, dip a toe in, maybe if you're doing ads or whatever, you put a little bit over here. I ran a Amazon ad for one of my books. And I'm running the ad, I'm dipping my toe into Amazon because I never ran Amazon ads. Do Facebook, do some other stuff, but never Amazon. So I'm trying it, dipping a little toe in, not a lot. You get $50 from me to see if it worked. Now I ran two different types. I ran one ad and it ran for 14 days. Nothing happened. So I says, okay, and then the next ad is a different kind of ad where I can go in, find the audience and do some tags and all that kind of stuff, right? One was suggested by them and one I did manually. So now I'm trying to see how that works. You know what I mean? And I look back at the statistics, you see if you got any sales. If you don't, you turn it off. Right? So dipping a toe in, trying a new way is how you can stay focused, but at the same time, dip it in. So as you're creating these things out there, John, you mentioned here about setting goals, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine setting a goal and something else comes up. What do you do?
And not crazy goals, but you set a goal that's realistic, and then you set milestones along the way.
Well, that's key. Milestone. That's your check, right?
Mm-hmm.
I set a goal. I did some work. Did it work?
Because it's like if I set a goal, hey, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I don't wait until I lose 30 pounds. It's like, fantastic. I'm going to reward myself and buy myself that book because I just lost 5 pounds.
Right.
Or whatever it is that you're interested in, but setting those milestones and rewarding yourself and then moving on to the next one. But don't say, hey, let's just accomplish the goal, because that's going to be a massive undertaking. Do the 5 pounds at a time.
Yeah. And then get the information from that. The great thing about, and this is, like I say, this is the discipline, right? And I know when I'm breaking discipline, right? I'll be doing something consistently, then I'll go do something else that's breaking discipline, right? And that's what I have found has been a troubling spot. I'll give you an example. I posted the podcast late twice, and each time, because I have a specific day, you know what I mean? I want those things to be out on Wednesdays. Right. And then the second time it happened to me, I says, what happened? So as I reverse engineered and looked at it, and I says, you broke process. The process is you get done with the podcast, and that same day you do the edits because you have stuff fresh in your mind. Nothing else is in the way of it. Oh, I'll get to it another day. That another day turns into 3, into 4. And now you miss your deadline because you broke discipline and you broke process. So now what I do, John, is with goals especially, is I'll say, all right, that's where I want to go. What is my process of getting there? And then I try to hone in on that. And I know, I think not Stephen Covey, but it's Sean Covey has a book out that talks about the I can't remember it now, discipline something. I got it over here somewhere.
But it's just like if you're building a house, you don't just throw the house up.
Right.
You have to set up a process. First, we have to set the foundation.
Right.
And it's just like anything
who do we
that
call?
we do. Right.
When does that
absolutely.
call come?
You're not going to have the roofers there before you have the basement poured. That wouldn't make any sense.
I heard this the other day, John, and this is, again, we're on the topic. Everybody, if you're just jumping in, we're talking about what's preventing you from having the success in your business. And we have postulated here that it is discipline and focus. You're breaking discipline and you're not having the focus, and it's causing your business to be, in essence, a reflection of you. Right? I heard a guy ranting about this. This guy got so upset, man, that it made me want to, turn the channel. But he was talking about, he says, it is a reflection of who you are. And he was kind of talking about it for, his own life. He says, when I was not doing well, my business reflected it. When I was undisciplined in my eating, my business reflected it. So it made me start thinking, how true is that? Right? I kind of looked internally and I said, wait a minute, I can remember the times when I was most successful at doing a thing, most focused, getting through degrees, when I was working 50 hours and had, a girlfriend and real estate and all that kind of stuff. How did I do that? Kind of thing. Focus and discipline, right? I recall those things.
And when you say that, and the thing that enters my mind is David Goggins' story.
Oh yeah. You can't hurt me.
Oh my goodness, the persistence that David Goggins, and he's not a Superman. He shows his vulnerability. He was overweight before he joined the military. He went through SEAL training, I think 4 times. I think he had broken limbs and different things along the way, but he did not give up. And he wasn't superhuman, but
right.
he had a goal and he worked towards that goal. And finally he did it. And he's done so many other things. And I look at that and I say, he's got to be the most disciplined person. And we're just talking about, and this is mentally, because everything stems from mental discipline. So your physical self is an extension of your mental self. So if you're not disciplined mentally, you're not going to be disciplined physically.
That's interesting, John. I like that. And sometimes you have to have the discipline to say no. Now, if you guys listened to our last podcast last week, then you heard us talking about how to say no to particular advertisers when they're trying to come and get your money. Right, John? I sent you that video, by the way. I wanted you to see some different things I was doing with, how it looked, the header and the footer. But anyway, so look, they talk about this, right? You have to say no to things, but in this case, he's saying, hey, put it in the parking lot, right? I'm gonna put 2 hearts by that. Put it in the parking lot. And here's a cool part, right? He says, all right, well, have a little chart, have something for yourself, have a little chart, keep a flip chart on the wall with parking lot. So now what I've done in that particular case, I've been able to do something just like that. I use Instapaper, right? If you ever want to check that out, Instapaper or Trello or Evernote is just a place where you can put stuff. I'll put websites and all that kind of stuff until you come back to them, right? Now I've been doing this for like 2 years and I think I got to go to them now, right? But it is allowing you to have the idea, but just put it somewhere, right? Now, one of the things when I knew that I was coming up with so many ideas, I created a business that was about the ideation to creation. So I created an environment to continually and constantly test. Now that's a strategy. Constantly test things, and then you kind of see which one, has legs, which one seems to take the energy and momentum that you put into it and seems to say, hey, the time is now for me to do this. Now, there's been ideas that I've left in the pile. And like we were talking off camera, John, you see somebody else doing it and now you're ticked. And you're going, are you kidding me? Here's one. I remember reading a book by Keith Ferrazzi years ago, right? This guy wrote a book called Never Eat Alone. And I thought, that's brilliant. I read the whole book and it was really about how, you're constantly getting out there and networking with people. Now, I says, man, wouldn't it be awesome? Get this, John, a couple years ago. Wouldn't it be awesome if I created an app that is based on the book, Never Eat Alone. In other words, it's a matching algorithm that says if you're sitting in, literally just like that, sitting in a restaurant and you say, you know what? And I see people sitting in a restaurant. Sometimes when I'm sitting in a restaurant by myself, you kind of want to go up to them and says, hey, can I sit with you? Right. And that was the concept. So I think a degree of it would be the proximity. If you can hit the app, I'm going to be eating at such and such. You know, I these guys keep out the creeps and all that kind of stuff, right? Men and women. So just 2 days ago, I'm reading an article, and what do I see? A guy has come out with an app. Guess what it's called, John?
Never Eat Alone.
Never Eat Alone. Guess what it does, John?
Matches people who are eating alone. Yeah.
To the T. So we talk about God gives not just you an idea, gives you bidding, gives somebody else an idea. Now that could have been a $1 million app for me. It could have been $1 million maker. I don't know, but I never pulled the trigger on it. Why? Because I'm monkeying around with something else. Now, that's not to say that you won't have those moments, right? And it's not to say that your focus and discipline won't make you miss out on stuff. It will, but you got to be okay with that. But at some point, like they talk about here, right? Parking the idea, and then look at this. Once a quarter, this is what I like. Business planning day. Oh, so and choose your focus for the next 90 days.
Randy, real quick, if you're watching this on YouTube or whatnot, you might have saw me messing with my phone a few minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I do to track progress and to put ideas into and questions that I have with other business partners is I use this notes app,
Oh
and
yeah.
I
Oh
plug it in there
yes,
all the
sir.
time. It's not something I just keep in my head. I don't leave it to chance that I'll remember that, the off chance that I'll remember that when I'm speaking with them. But boom, it goes into here to be collected data so I can pull that up
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
need it.
Like I say, if you go to my Instapaper, oh my gosh, man, I'll put so much stuff on Instapaper, and then Evernote, right? I mean, on Androids we got Evernote, right? You got that Apple product, whatever. And so, and but that becomes, but you if you notice here what the guy talked about, every quarter you got to go to them. And I get so busy I forget. And you look back at some stuff like years later, and you go, "Oh my God, that was a good idea." They're doing that now. It could have been your $1 million seller, right? And I love what he said here. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one, John. This one right here is let me erase some of these things. Focus isn't the problem,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he says your fears are getting the best of you, or you aren't passionate enough about your project or goal. To the guy that you had in your office, John, that's what I'm really curious about. Why hasn't that guy launched? What is the payoff? What is he getting for not launching? And if someone says, I'm going to come and burn your house down unless you launch those businesses within a week, what do you think he would do? So he hasn't had, somewhere along the line, he hasn't had enough negative consequence to achieve that goal. You know, there's a couple guys that were going around saying, I don't know if they actually made a business out of this, John, but this is what they did. They said, anytime they would come up with a goal, they would tell a friend and they would say, here's the negative consequence. They didn't go the other way. They says, if I don't do this, I have to, donate money to some cause that I don't want to donate to. I have to, send $100, $1,000, something that would hurt unless I get it done. A negative consequence. That'll work, right? You mentioned here, push yourself into discomfort. Push yourself into discomfort. John, break that out for us.
Yeah, I think it's important in life to take ourselves to the edge, to test who we are, at our limits. And I'm not saying do something foolish, that you might hurt yourself or your reputation or anything like that. But what I'm saying is set goals that are achievable, but they're a stretch achievable. That means you have to work for them. That means you have to become uncomfortable. That means you have to do things that you've never done before. It's not really a goal if you're not pushing yourself to the limit and over anything else that you've ever done before. If I set a goal, if I'm a weightlifter and I set a goal of, hey, I want to bench press 250 pounds, but I bench press 245 pounds.
Yeah.
That's really not, you know what I mean? That might be a milestone to do 250, but your goal should really be 275, 300, something that you're pushing yourself. And then what is it that you have to do differently now to be able to ramp up your game so that you'll be able to, and maybe that's tweaking your diet, maybe that's different other types of exercises and training. But whatever it is, you're making yourself uncomfortable. You're pushing yourself to the limit. I'll give you an example. Last year during COVID, beautiful COVID started, and in March it started, and my family and I were like, let's take a bike ride. And I don't have much stamina. I have asthma really bad. So anything for long term really affects my breathing. And, my thought was, oh, this bike ride is just going to be a couple blocks and we're going to come back. Well, heck, we went all the way downtown, went all the way through downtown, and then back around the long way. And there was a point, like, I'm like, I can't do this.
You're dying.
You know what I mean? I felt like it because
yeah, couldn't get your breath. Right.
I had to stop and get my breath. But the only way that I was going to get home was to stop and let my wife and kids proceed and come back and pick me up in the vehicle, or me riding the rest of the way home. And I chose riding the rest of the way back home. It was not comfortable at all.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that, helped me build endurance, even though it was very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes we just got to push into it. Right. So now, okay, when we think that we're doing our mind a service by trying to do multiple things. But I remember when I was reading this, it says there's this thing called switching costs. I was like, what the heck is switching cost, right? Well, when you're switching attentions, there's a cost associated with it, right? I know when I was writing a lot of books, and it would say never do the creative work and then the mental work, the editing, at the same time. Your mind just doesn't like that. Let it be creative, see what you got, come back to it, then do the editing. When your mind is saying, okay, I'm in a different mode. Trying to switch back and forth, it's a cost associated with it, right? And that's some real good stuff. And this is what they talk about in the article. Stop trying to multitask. You have a lot to do as an entrepreneur, right? They talk about you got a lot to do as an entrepreneur, and trying to do it all is not going to work for you. Look at this. Multitasking is killing your productivity. Now, you have a lot of people that argue with you. No, I'm getting a lot done. Really? What did you get launched? Right. This is when I'm working with entrepreneurs. This is what I tell them all the time. I say, we're going to get all the way done. What do you mean we're going to get all the way done? Right. And I have a personal belief that nothing should take more than 7 days to get up and running and launched. Seriously. because you got to have that kind of get it out there approach. And if I had my way, it would be in a day, right?
Yeah.
What can you create today? And you'd be surprised in a 12-hour, let's go ahead and say it, a 16-hour opportunity. You sleep for 8 hours, you get a nice sleep on, and 16 hours is available to you to work. Imagine, now you got tools, you got YouTube, there's nothing that you can't get done in my estimation. When you concentrate, you got the right tools to pull it in. But we won't focus. We won't hold ourselves accountable with the discipline. We will check everything, YouTube videos that ain't related to what you're doing, right? If I said ain't, we will social media, oh, I got to call this person. Oh, this came up, and you get distractions. Switching costs.
I think one of the most relevant and in our face examples of this is because we see it so much as athletics. You see world-class athletes, and when they're in the middle of something, that is their singular focus. They're not doing 2 and 3 things at one time. These are the best of the best in whatever it is they're doing. And so if the best and the best of the best, they're focused so much on that one thing, wouldn't we be better served in being focused on what makes us think that we could do 2 or 3 things at once? And that's why, and it doesn't have to just, it doesn't apply just to athletics. It's just, that's the one that we see the most because every time we turn on the television, there's a game.
Yeah.
But this applies to everything that you do. I'll give you an example. My wife talking with me as I'm scrolling the computer and working on something else. Well, I have to tell you, I don't catch everything that she says. And I love my wife. I love my wife. Yeah, I love my wife. But I'm doing 2 things at once. And I can't do 2 things at once flawlessly.
It's incredible. I've taken it. This doesn't work all the time. So guys, you're listening out there. That's not to say we're perfect, but I can tell you when I started doing days, Monday I do this, Tuesday I do this, Wednesday, it works on your head, right? Because you're thinking, man, but what if a good idea comes to me? Monday I do this, Tuesday I do this, Wednesday I do this, Thursday I do this, Friday I do this. Man, knowing that it's helped me a lot. Knowing that all day Monday, I'm just course building all day allows you to say, okay, there's nothing else that needs to get in. It's what they're talking about here. Pick 2 areas to focus on. And this guy says his company grew. Look what he says. His company grew 250% following the advice of picking 2 major business areas and eliminating all of the rest, no matter how attractive they might seem. Oh my gosh. You talk about difficult. And he admits entrepreneurs commonly have new shiny thing. He didn't say new, but shiny object syndrome. We're like a bass. We see something moving, boom, we attack it. I can always tell in fishing when a bass is on the line. Always. It's a jerk. Boom. Right? They don't put it in their mouth and spit it out. They attack it. And that's why they like shiny things. What is that? Boom, they get it. Right? And that's why if you notice, when you're bass fishing, you don't use a bobber. Right? You just throw it out there and you kind of bring it in because you're trying to attract them. And they see that and they run over there, boom, grab it. And you bring them on in, right? Get the skillet ready. Sorry, vegetarians, I apologize. Vegans, I apologize. But this becomes the opportunity, man, when we can focus. And John, I'm telling you, the tendency to want to do other things. We have this conversation because the business that we're launching, when we start thinking about, I have to kind of send a message every now and then. Hey, man, what about this? right? And that kind of reels us back in. Or I get to thinking, I sent you an email this morning. I was in serious concentration mode and like something came to me. So I sent you
6:30. I saw it.
15 things that start with C that, and the big picture is, I grounded in the big picture is, I says, this is our probable New York, stock exchange symbol, EHC. And then I said, now, if someone ever asks us, well, what does EHC stand for, right? I says, we got this one, right? Club, we got consortium, and that's why I came up with all these C's. And then I said, well, all of those could be, or a lot of them could be things that we do from a service perspective. This is what we're about. You know what I mean? And this is what, entre hustling is all about, is being able to get your hustle on entrepreneurially, but now do it in a focused manner so that you can have some success. I'm just hearing so much information, John, about this, about the lack of focus and the reason why we're not successful at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I couldn't pass, and guys, I'll admit, I couldn't pass. I couldn't get through college for a long time. I mean, it took me. I was an adult when I finished my degrees, and it was, I just couldn't focus. It was, something would happen, and I literally went to a hypnotist. Right? I did. And the hypnotist in our sessions, what he would do is he would say things like, I went to two, a lady and a man, and focus, concentrate on getting through, seeing the end, all these different over and over again. Right. And the only reason I stopped seeing the ladies is because I moved to a different location. And so that was a part of it. And man, I'm telling you, within a year, I had finished undergrad. Now, as I look back on that, I say, was it the hypnosis? Well, it wasn't working before. And I mean, getting through college wasn't working before. I go to the hypnotist, and next thing you know, I'm in a master's program. So, but it's not that it was some, some mumbo jumbo. It was about helping me focus and point in a direction, getting my mind to concentrate on that. So some degree you may have to do yourself some self-hypnosis, right? You hear people doing affirmations, self-help talk, and you got to hear down positive talk, dreaming, hoping, right? And then acting. For your entrepreneur, if he's listening to this, I'd say, let's take one idea. Okay, you want to take all five? That's fine. Let's package all five. And every day of the week, you're working on one. Every day. Monday, that idea. Tuesday, that idea. You know what I mean? He's trying to Elon Musk it, right? And Elon Musk is doing pretty good. In those 80-hour weeks, he's on Twitter all the darn time. And now he's on Clubhouse. He was on Clubhouse interviewing the CEO of Robinhood. Right. And somebody collected the Clubhouse, however they did it, he recorded it or something. And so now I got a chance to listen to that. And the guy was rocking out. He said, hey, look, this is what happened. Why we had to stop allowing people to sell their shares of GameStop. And he went into it, right? And Elon Musk was over there saying, okay, what happened? Right? He wasn't a reporter. He got past all the fluff. And he says, tell me what happened. And the guy told him. Now, this is the same guy that had been on numerous shows trying to explain it, right? And Elon Musk got him to say it and tell it straight. All right, what about delegate, John? That's one, right?
Absolutely. Figuring out the things that, and this is the way that I like to delegate. It's not, giving someone else the stuff I don't like to do, but it's giving someone the stuff that I'm not so good at doing. So for example, we had talked about earlier today, I kind of made a joke about Fiverr. When you introduced me to that, it changed my world because I was able to not to use a platform where I wasn't gifted and hire somebody. So delegate that
Yeah.
to that person and get a quality product, much better product than
Then we would
I
have put
would have
out.
gotten if I would have done it myself.
Yeah.
And
I
so delegating is very important. You surround yourself with the right people and you hand the right people the right stuff to do.
Yeah. Yeah. This is something on a podcast I was listening to earlier yesterday. A guy said that. He says, get around smart people, not just smart people, but people that can get stuff done. You know what I mean? They may know the technology to what you don't know. In essence, you stick to what you know. Go out there, market it, find the lanes, find the traffic sources, et cetera, if that's your gift, and get out of the doing part of it. And this guy did that in his business and it grew exponentially. It grew like crazy because he was able to go, you know what? I need to be working on copy. I need to be working on where can I place this in front of, blue ocean areas, all that. And I found some people that were brilliant at the build part. Right now, I get hard headed in my own self and I'm building things. Right. And this is a guy told me, he says, you got to get out of the transactional. He said, I know this is about you. And I know this about me. I can get very transactional. I'll be in the weeds dealing with that, right? When I should be up thinking about think like an eagle looking in on things, right? So that's something that you fight against. And what they said here is get yourself a boss. I love this. Get yourself a boss. What does that mean? As part of being an entrepreneur.
Accountability. Yeah.
Yeah, you're your own boss.
Accountability. Yep.
And the worst
Making
part
sure.
is you're your own boss.
Yep. Absolutely.
Isn't that
And that's
something?
why that's I think that's why accountability partners are so necessary.
Yeah.
And I think another thing is that's the reason why I like to form partnerships is, hey Randy, I want you to challenge me because
You're
if I'm doing this,
partnership forming pro.
it's like, but I want to be challenged and I want to learn from you and do something together and be my best self. And I know that I'm not able to be my best self if I'm not challenged. So I bring someone talented alongside me that's able to push me
Yep.
further.
They talked about it right here, John. In certain cases, let your calendar. Now, if you guys are looking in on YouTube or Facebook, then you see behind me on my wall, right? And you may think, oh, nothing changes up there. Oh, it changes constantly because once I get something done, I erase it. I literally erase it. Now I have 3 of these in my room. I've got it this month, I've got it this week, and I've got it today. And oftentimes, if it's not on the board, my wife will ask me, hey, what are you doing today? I says, whatever the board tells me. Now, that's not to say that you don't have those, as we mentioned earlier, those dip your toe in moments where you just get something, right? They're talking about NFTs, right? And you start going, what is an NFT? And you look it up and you get interested and excited, but you don't let the new shiny thing distract you. Oh my God, people are making bank from this thing, right? Christie's is the first auction house to sell an NFT, which in essence is digital art or digital things made digital. Now, here's something that, and I remember this, I was thinking about this earlier. I was supposed to do an interview. Now, this was like 3 years ago with a friend of mine's husband who started a nonprofit. And all he did, or it was a nonprofit or no, it wasn't a nonprofit. I can't think of it now. It was a little community-based thing, but all they talked about was Bitcoin back in the day, crypto stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? Back in the day. Now I was like, well, I'm really not interested in that because I was, on to something else, which, the on to something else thing worked out too. But now most things are going crypto. Right. And you start thinking about the bigger implications of that. So that may cause a currency crash. So you're going, So if you're in the space of shorting currencies and all that kind of stuff, You see, my point here is that sometimes you got to be and stay at least aware. That's the dip your toe in moment. Stay at least aware. And if you got a company, maybe you got a division that's all they do is check out interesting and new things. That's your job. Don't mess with us over here. We're making sure that you got enough money to go on these wild goose chases, right? In the Google and places like that, they call them moonshots. And they're moonshots. You don't know. Am I going to hit the moon? Probably not. You got a slingshot. It's not going to work, right? Am I going to hit the moon? Well, somebody's building a space, a rocket. Oh, maybe it's possible then. So you dip your toe in. You try different things, right? And do it in a systematic way. This particular case, he's talking about get a partner to hold you to task. John, I'm creating a whole section of a consulting part of the consulting part of my business that deals just with helping people get stuff done. Mm-hmm. That's it. Just helping them, and it is going nuts. I put a post out, or I sent it to my email list last week, and my calendar filled up. People needing help getting to that next, what to do next. So now that's leading me to think about what book I'll write that kind of helps, all that kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So it is now, because you understand that doing things in a transactional way, right? That's my tendency. So I have to fight it to work the one-on-one. Doing things that way is not a scalable business. So I think about, all right, can I get enough testimonials from people that I'm working with, right? But the main thing is I'm still staying focused, but I'm saying I'm going to do this for 30 days. So what I did, John, is I gave it a deadline. I says, by the end of the month, I'm going to do this for a couple of days, see if anybody raised their hand. And a lot of people raised their hand. So that kind of gives you an idea. Oh, wait a minute, there's something here. So then what I'll do is I'll say, hey, go back to that email list and says, so many people raised their hand. I'm going to be having a webinar. And then you get into the doing your thing one to many, or in a Facebook group, all you guys come. So I don't get Zoom bombed. I'll probably not do it via Zoom, right? John's been having some problems getting Zoom bombed, but I'll do it in a way that I can, control the outcome. And then the people can get help. And that becomes the thing that, builds the business. And then you kind of go, wait a minute, if this is that popular, then, and there's apps out there now, what could I create that then does that thing? They've got apps that you call up and they have somebody that works, that's kind of like right there with you. Right. And then you end up doing work while they're with you, because they're doing their work and you're doing their work. It's like, a homework partner or something. Right. And the guy, I think I remember looking at this app because I was building one similar to it, but his was so good, I stopped doing mine. I said, there's no sense in having a couple out here. And then I started hearing about guys raising money in that same space. He was calling his adult babysitting. I thought that was a wrong name, but anyway, but that's what it was about, accountability. And then I created mine called yourgoalmate.com. All right. And I haven't done the website yet. So if you guys go to it, it's coming. But that's what it's about. I'm going to be your goal mate. We're going to help you get stuff done. It's like a personal trainer for business, right? That was something that was thought of several years ago. And it's that thing that helps people stay focused, right? This is what they're talking about down here, right? Let me go ahead and erase a couple of these. That's the fun part about this. It doesn't have to be hard. It just has to be actioned, if I may use that term that way. It just needs to be action, John. Would you agree that stuff just needs to be action? You got to act on it. You got to be unafraid to act on things.
Absolutely. And you can't have the fear of failure. You just have to do it. And you're going to learn from, hey, it might not work exactly the way you want, which I don't think anything's ever worked the way that I wanted it to work perfectly. but it gives you a baseline, and it allows you to go back and say, well, who do I need to connect with to help with this area, or what do I need to learn to make this better? Or, hey, I was really focused on the wrong demographic for this group. I mean, we've talked about this several times with the socks. I thought it was going to be your 20-something professional male, but it's the demographic who typically buys our sock is more the female, and
That's
in
good.
the
That's good
middle
information
age.
to hear.
Absolutely. And
Right.
so just going and launching and finding out and working out the kinks. If if you're not trying, you're never going to work out the kinks, and you're never going to get anywhere. And pretty soon you're still going to be working on that, and like you said, somebody else is going to come out with the version that goes to market.
Or they're gonna watch yours and go, "Hey, I got more money. I can do that."
Mm-hmm.
John, look at this one. He says that putting a timer. Now, I've been doing this for a little while. Where's my timer? I've been using this one right here. I put it on an hour, and I'll work for an hour. And I did this because I wanted to make sure that I got my work in, because I'm getting pandemic pot belly, and it's not going well. Pandemic pot belly is not good for me, you know. So pandemic pot belly is needs to go bye-bye. So I put myself on this timer that every hour I get my butt up and do some kind of exercise. All probably for the next month, it's going to be all crunches and sit-ups, right? And then I'm eating differently and stuff like that, right? But look at this. 20 minutes he does, or she does. I can't remember who was talking about this. Tara. She. It's an amazing how much you can get accomplished when you focus on that time. This is kind of like the law of Parkinson's, right? So think about it in your business, everybody. If you say, that's why I say you can get your stuff done in a week. We're not going over a week. That's that. The law of Parkinson says, well, what do I need? Like you said earlier, what do I need to do? Who I need to get help? Where can I leverage this? Who on Fiverr can I call up? Where else can I call? What do I need? You know what I mean? You start now you start accomplishing your goals because you fit the task to the time. You do.
You know, the other thing with that 20-minute is I heard that's the average of someone's attention span as
Right.
well.
Right. 20 minutes. Right. Elon Musk does 5 minutes. I like to see his, watch going off all the time, but all right, that'd be interesting. 5 minutes long. What did I get done? But in an hour, you're working at the house, right? You can ask yourself that big question. What did I get done in this hour? And sometimes, like it says, compete against yourself. I'll find myself, going fast. So in a business, this is some of the things that can help you stay focused. And if you stay focused and disciplined, I can feel comfortable saying it'll be a success for you. It'll definitely be a success because you concentrate on anything. Think about the things that we got done, John, that people look back on and go, how did you do? You got 2 master's degrees in business, right?
Yeah, I think that if you would have told me
Did you do them at the same time, or did you do them consecutively?
No. I did my management one first, and then I went back a few years later and did the MBA. So yeah,
MBAs are
different
hard.
time. And yeah, and if you would have told me that I would have a let alone a bachelor's degree in 1990, I would have probably said no way, because nobody believed in me. Nobody thought I would do anything. And quite frankly, I didn't believe in myself either.
Right. I had to go to hypnosis, bro, before I could believe it. You know what I mean? So whatever it takes, but you got it done. I got those degrees done in record time. Record time. Focus and discipline. Remember, I told you I went and bought an Apple product, and I couldn't figure it out fast enough. I sent it back to the store, got my $1,300 back. Because I wouldn't let anything get in the way of getting it done. I put myself under a challenge, man. I'm afraid to even mention this because it's going to be too public. And I says, I'm not leaving my room, my home office, until I'm making $100,000 a month. Oh my gosh. Now I'm gonna put it out there. So you're gonna have people calling me saying, you making your 100,000 yet? And I just said, that that was a nice stretch goal, not impossible because I'm in the digital space, so it's all possible, right? And I just said I'm gonna, in essence, giving myself a challenge that I'm not leaving here. And something interesting happened. I started noticing that my focus changed because your brain likes to stay consistent with the stuff you tell it. So I asked, I said, hey, look, we got to make this $100,000 by the end of the year. Got to be at that a month. So what does that mean? And the brain goes, well, okay. Well, that means you need to kick out some products. I've been doing more products. We, released a couple of books in that time. So all these little things got more tools to be able to do more stuff. I can build a funnel and like that, you know what I mean? Got my email. So now the things that, because of that big, crazy goal that you might not be able to see, but that's only $1.2 million a year. Okay. Only. Right. And if you do the math on that, you start going, well, if I sell this many digital products, or all I really have to do is come up with one good one and sell 100,000 of those a month. And guess what also happened during that? The pandemic happened. So now you got people at home looking for digital courses. So everything's set up for your success. In this case, for my success. Think about that for your business. If you're listening in on this, focus plus discipline plus having the right product, having the right service at the right time could get you there. But if you're living unfocused, if you're all over the darn place, you're still chasing new shiny things, then opportunities are going to go to the next person that says, I'm putting all that aside. I was listening to a guy the other day, Alex Becker, and he was ranting, man, pretty good. And he says, look, I live in a house unfurnished. And he said, so many people said I was crazy for doing this, that I'm, just tripping out. And he says, and guess what happened? He said, I sold my house. I moved into a thing and I have no furniture. And I remember listening like 6 years ago, listening how Neil Patel did that same thing. And his business went through the roof. He moved into a hotel. This is crazy. You look on that, I ain't doing that. I got a family, I got stuff. Okay, that's fine. We understand that. But outside of family time, if you are focusing and you say, I am giving myself some strict controls, right? I'm putting myself under a focused diet, disciplined diet, it can get done. We've seen amazing things happen. Now, those guys may have gone to the stream. They may have had opportunities and situations where they could, but it just tells you when they got rid of distractions, right? Neil says, I never had to cook. I was able to see people in the hotel. They had towels for me. It cost, but he says his business was making that kind of money, and he saved because he was able to focus. And now he's got a juggernaut of a company. He's making millions and millions of dollars a year. We look at it and call them crazy, but then we also know in our own lives it's worked. This is what we hope for you for your business, everybody. Let's go ahead and get out of this screen here, John. I don't know. What do you think, John? Is this kind of stuff that we've talked about today nuts, plausible? Nobody's going to do it. We're crazy people. What's happening?
I think it's stuff that deep down most of us know.
We know.
And
I like that. We know.
But it's something that is hard to apply. It's kind of like, hey, you know what? I know that drinking pop and eating M&Ms isn't good for me.
It's so dang good.
But it tastes. Yeah, you're right. It tastes good.
So good.
And so we know this, but we just don't act upon it. But the problem with that is we in turn make excuses
Mhm.
for our inaction when, hey, we just need to be realistic and say, hey, yeah, and I'm just using the diet as an example. Hey, I've got a poor diet. Or just like saying, hey, I'm not disciplined, and I I failed to launch. I don't know how to launch. I have really good ideas, but I'm not really good at anything else. You know what I mean? Those
Yeah,
types of things. We
yeah.
just have
You
to
said
own
it right
that.
here, John. Challenge your excuses,
Hmm.
right? I think about your guy that you're talking about, right? And what is, again, I go back to this, everybody. Look at what you're doing in your business and ask, why isn't it as successful as you wanted it to be? Do you have that plan? Do you even know what you want to make a month? Right? And then are you leveraging all of the tools available to you? What if now, John, you become a Fiverr addict, right? In a good way. I mean, if you're going to be addicted to something, being addicted to delegating responsibility for the sake of your businesses, I don't know. That's an addiction that could pay you millions of dollars one day because you're getting just goo gobs. I know I've seen some stuff and it's back to the drawing board, buddy, but some things are like brilliant. I'm like, this is awesome. And I'll ask you, hey, who did you use? Right. And I'll, send them a message. Hey, can you do this? I got kind of a hybrid thing, right? A buddy of mine just told me that you do good work. Can you do this? Imagine your guy now saying, okay, I'm doing all 5 things, but guess what? I'm giving 4 of those to somebody else. I'm going to get
Hmm.
some co-founders in. I'm going to give them a piece based on what they get done so that you don't come out of upfront money. So this is that innovative way of thinking about something, right? Something got me thinking about what we're building, John, starting from scratch here with, the Entre Hustler and all
Uh-huh.
of its ancillary, opportunities. Is I thought about the guy who started Twitch. Now they sold Twitch for like $1 billion, 900 some $1 million. But they started off, it was just one guy, Justin TV.
Hmm.
That's what he started. And he just says, for 1 year, crazy talk, for 1 year, I'm going to wear this thing that shows my whole life. Justin, that's how I started off, Justin TV. And he says, people were, they were like, dude, you're boring. I literally just listened to this the other day, how it started. And he was interviewing with Alex Becker, this other guy, and he was talking about focus. And he says, I just did this for a year. And people were like, oh man, you got a boring life. We don't want to see this anymore. So they started doing tricks, playing tricks on him. They would send him pizza. They would do all kind of stupid stuff, right? They would start because they wanted to see his reaction, because they wanted some excitement. But he says, listen, he says, me, what that taught him is that if I listen to my customers, he says every single thing that he did in a response was in a response to his customers saying, this is what we want. We want more excitement. Then he started Twitch TV, but he says he went and got 4 co-founders. I think it was 4 of them total. 4 of them, kind of like what we're doing with Andre Hustler, saying, hey guys, you want to be a part of this,
Hmm.
right? And the ones that stand up, they're going to be a part of it. The ones that don't respond, well, guess what? Right. So he started Twitch TV, and the customers start telling him what they wanted. Hey, I do a lot of gaming. Could you set it up so I can show people what I'm doing? Absolutely. Can I make money while I do this? And he said it just like that. He said they only wanted to make $50 or $100 a month. So they're doing something they love. They just wanted a couple of dollars for it. So John, this is why it's so similar to what we're doing. Is he says, but he started making money for them, getting them attention. Now think about that. He took it away. Nobody cares about us. Remember, nobody cares. Once we get over ourselves, we can stop procrastinating and all that stuff. He started paying attention to what they were doing, what they were asking, started making them money, built a platform for them. and they exploded. They start telling more people about it. Look, over there at Twitch, I'm able to make a full-time living. Yeah, I don't know if $100 was doing it. Maybe they're living in mom's basement. But I mean, that's what they wanted. I want to game and I want to earn from gaming. Okay. And that's what I do. You know, I got a whole program called the Monetize Your Life program. That's what I do. What are you doing right now? Let's make money from that so that it's not outside of your comfort zone. Man, it blew up. He said they were getting so much traffic that it's grew into this. And now, you know, they're on their Twitch TV is kind of extended into other things. They were able to sell it for $1 billion, $970 million, made four guys rich in record time. Record time. Why? He concentrated. He was disciplined on listening to his customers first. Got out of his own way, like your guy won't get out of his own way. Mm-hmm. Brought in 4 founders, and he says one of the founders was very insistent on I can't remember. He said they were going to call it like some crazy name like Zara, Zaft, or Zaraft or something. And his buddy says, we're not doing that. And then he was insistent on some other things, right? So that's where you listen to your other co-founders, right? You try not to, you know, throw them out. And it became the thing they were able to sell $1 billion. Now, that's inspirational to me. And if you're listening in, that should be inspiration to you. Know that it starts with absolute focus. You want to do 5 things, give 4 of those things to somebody else. We understand it. John, we understand it as entrepreneurs, don't we? Yeah. There's something new. That's good. Mm-hmm. Or I can't let that one go, fear of missing out. Okay. I tell you what, I'm going to fund this. I'm going to give you guys $10,000 to make it happen. Go. Right? And you eat potato chips and Coca-Cola for a while. See if they can do it. They become your CEOs. I mean, you fund it to a degree, right? And you hope they don't run off with the money, but you weren't going to do it anyway, so you might as well do a little bit of funding. You got 3 months salary, whatever, to make it work. While you go and, you know, and you then, I mean, there's so many cool things you can do. We can get into this into the weeds on this. Then you're a consultant to that business. That's basically what you're doing. You just tell them what to do based on your experiences. Oh, do this, talk to this person. Here's my Rolodex, call this person. You want to do this. And then they can run with it or not run with it. That's how he can get those 5 things done, right? He can get those 5 things done. Otherwise, he'll never start because he already knows it's too much and it's impossible. And he doesn't want the responsibility of what comes along with that. But that's an idea for him. Hopefully he's listening and he's able to go, hey, wait a minute. The 2 business guys were masterminding and I got something from that. That's awesome. So John, before we close up, what else can we tell our listeners about discipline and about focus?
We you know, people probably get sick of hearing me say this, Randy, whether it's a business plan or a strategic plan, but everything starts with a plan. And plan for success, plan for discipline, set your goals, know the reason why you want to reach these goals, have milestones along the way, and have somebody who's going to hold you accountable. But it starts with the plan. It's not just, you're not going to wish it to happen. My dad used to say that to me, that you can't just wish something, that you got to do something about it. So keeping it in your mind and knowing that you want to do it, or you believe that one day you'll wake up and you'll have a book written. Well, that's not going to work, right?
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you need to start somewhere. So make a plan. Hey, I need to write a chapter a week for the next 12 weeks, or however.
Process that. What's the process? Yes. That's writing one thing an hour. Oh, okay.
And having who is going to proof this? Well, I'm going to have so-and-so proof that. Did you contact that person ahead of time to hold you accountable and say, hey, by this date, I want you to ask me if I have 4 chapters done,
Right.
so I can pass along to you, and you can proof it for me.
And if you don't get it done, what's the negative consequence?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna come over there and clip your toenails, right, with a knife. I don't know. I mean, something that hurts. Something that you go, ooh, I can't do that.
Yeah,
you got to send me $1,000, right? You got to donate $1,000 to, if you're a vegan, to, Meat Lovers Association of America. I'm not doing that. We'll get it done. Right.
And it could be a host of things, and rewarding yourself too, within reason.
Yeah.
So it could be, hey, you know what? My goal is 30 pounds, but once I lose 10 pounds, I get to go buy myself a new shirt or a pair of pants.
Yeah.
And we use weight because everybody resonates with these types of examples. But it's the same thing if, you're writing a book, or if you're creating processes and procedures for your place of employment. It's the same thing.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So you guys heard it. Everybody, listen, it's there. And it's there for us to achieve. Things are set up now for us in the society that we live in for success. Anytime you have a channel that you can go to and figure out how to fix your dryer, right? Now I fixed in the last week a dryer, a stove, right? And I looked at a YouTube video and I says, that's the kind of stove that I've got. And went out, and all I had to do was buy a couple of little wrench tools, went in there, opened it up, fixed it. Right? Now, I'm not going to talk about the time I spent doing that because we don't want to get into that debate, right? I should have had somebody come over, but that's not the point. Fixed it. Right? And that is an accomplishment that you say, wow, that's good. And your wife might see you, if your husband might see you with the tools and go, oh, hey, I like the way you handle that drill burr. That becomes some of that other stuff, right? But this is it. Discipline yourself. Focus. Like the article says, maybe just three. That's my rule. Is I don't want to have more than 3 things that I'm doing in that day. And if I can get those off my plate, then that's even better. And just do one thing. Just one. Right? There's a book out there called The One Thing. And it's really good. And he talks about that. Focus on the one thing. He grew his real estate company to be one of the biggest in the nation with that approach. Try it, everybody. Let us know. Talk to us in the comments. Send us an email, send a pigeon, whatever you got to do. We want to hear from you. And then we will see you on the next video.